The biggest logistical flex of all time, the Berlin Airlift by the Fat Electrician. Oh my, I do love me some history content. I absolutely love documentaries, love YouTube videos, deep dives, individuals that even come out to the Discord server and our history channel and just post random facts and stuff like that. I love history. So it looks like we're going back to, I'm assuming, World War II era. And we're going to see what the Berlin Airlift was about, because I need to understand the biggest logistical flex, apparently, in history.
Ah yes, that time that communists tried to starve an entire city, so America and the UK teamed up to deliver 4.6 billion pounds of food and supplies to that city using nothing but cargo planes.
No, that sounds about right, actually. Yeah, that... Man... Mid-1900s, America really hated communism.
Today we're talking about the biggest economic and logistical flex of all time, America's Operation Vittles and the UK's Operation Plainfield, coming together to be known as the Berlin Airlift. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Henson's Shaving. Okay, here's the deal. Henson's is a family-owned machine shop that makes parts for the aerospace industry. There's literally parts on the Mars rover that these guys made, and
nice.
One day they woke up and they're like, hey, we're just gonna make the most precise safety razor on the market. And this is it. This is all they sell. It comes in aluminum or titanium. If you want to pay extra, it comes with a little stand. And then they also sell the razor blades, so you have a one-stop shop, not because their razor blades are proprietary, because this thing will take any shaving razor blade on the market. You don't have to buy their proprietary cartridge. You don't have to sign up for their monthly delivery thing. No, you buy this one time and then you can put any 5-cent razor in it and shave for the rest of your life. So
okay, honestly, that's how you sell me a product, right? It's not, we're going to cut the BS. You don't need our proprietary jank to work with it. If, as this is being marketed, I'm so sorry, Fat Electrician, I'm so sorry for that pause. Just market me something. Look, we got you in aluminum. If you want to pay extra, we got you in titanium. You get this. It's no BS. This is what you're going to need. This is effectively the platform that you're going to be using. And then, you can buy whatever razor you want after that. It's already kitted and shit for you to go. The amount of stuff nowadays that is so you throw it away, or, well, you got to use this, but there, it's all, there's all this proprietary attachments and stuff that go with it, so it doesn't actually work. But oh, well, if you sign up for our, delivery service, subscription service, we can, just get you that. Like, no, just cut the BS. Sell me a product. Sell me a quality product. I think at this point, I feel like a boomer some days. I feel like I'm super old fashioned. This doesn't feel like I'm asking a whole hell of a lot. I mean, what is it? Dad used to have a 77, no, it was a 78 Ford Bronco, one of those. Like, those were the last good years I heard for them. You look at trucks nowadays, they're made with, like, aluminum cans. Let's be real. So it used to be made out of steel. You hit your crumple, so it's the car in front of you. What I'm saying is, this is how you market a product at me. If it's good, if it's dependable, if it's reliable, if it's no BS, this is what you get. It's a good product. That's all I care about.
Product itself is fantastic, but more importantly, the company is awesome, because every time a YouTuber does an ad like this, they get sent a little media packet full of talking points, what to say, what not to say, and so on. Now, I'm not supposed to disclose this, but the brief that I got for Henson's basically said, there is no script, do whatever you want, we trust you. Also, in the first paragraph, they said this, quote, if for whatever reason you don't get a good shave with our product, please let us know. If we can't help you, then don't endorse us. We think we've made one of the very best razors in the world. If you disagree, we'd rather not ask you for a non-genuine endorsement.
That is how you get my business. That is how you earn my business. So I will, at this point, when I'm looking for a razor, because I use electric stuff, right? But I, been debating on actually going to full, blades and stuff. They're going to be one of the people I look to. That is how you earn my business. There's no BS. There's no, oh, well, scratch my back, scratch yours. That is damn good business. And I absolutely respect Henson for that.
So not only are the razors great, but this is the type of company you want to support. I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, important background info. After World War II, the Allied forces took control of Germany, and it was split into pretty much 4 different chunks.
Yeah, it was.
The Soviets got a piece, America got a piece, the French and the British both got a piece. Here's a map of that right here. Okay, here's where it gets a little weird. Berlin was also split into 4 equal chunks.
Yes,
the
it
problem
was.
with that was Berlin was 100 miles into the Soviet territory. So you have this little tiny speck on the map of British, French, and American territory, completely surrounded by the USSR. While that is weird, it wasn't really a problem because right after World War II, everybody was still an ally, so America, the British, and the French had no problems using the roadways and the trains to get food and supplies to their section of Berlin. Now, just so we're on the same page, Berlin, and essentially all of Germany to a slightly lesser extent, is essentially a third world country at this point in time. Yeah. Berlin in particular has essentially been turned into rubble from Allied bombings. The entire German...
See, I keep saying this. You know how we have a bunch of like footage of like Martin Luther King and stuff, but it's always in black and white? World War II, we had colored footage. Now, I heard that this is allegedly because they wanted to make it, make that whole situation seem older than it actually was. I that is hearsay. I don't have any facts to back that up. That being said, this proves in World War II we had colored footage, because I've had people, no, we didn't, and it's like, what? Now, factual, right there, fact. We had colored footage during World War II. There, thank you. Someone has actually like validated me in saying this after all this time. Thank you, Fat Electrician, for putting this footage in.
German economy is in the toilet, and all of the German people are not getting a lot of sympathy from the global community because, well, they kind of started it. Now, with the Allied forces in control of Germany, it is their job and their responsibility to help take care of the German people. Now, the Western powers, America, Great Britain, and France, they're all on the same page. They all have the same game plan. They want to go in, render aid in the short term to the German people, then in the long term, help prop up their economy, get them back on their own feet, and then they can leave. The USSR, on the other hand, aka the communists, absolutely hate that idea. The last thing a bunch of communists want is people being able to take care of themselves, so they step in and they're like, no, absolutely not. We're going to build a communist...
Our Berlin. Fuck. The memes write themselves.
Utopia out of this place. So, in order to stop the Western powers from helping Germany, they decide that they're going to print billions and billions of Reichsmarks, the German currency. They devalue the currency, so there's so much money that it's no longer a store of value, to the point that it literally takes a wheelbarrow full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Because of this...
And that... Yeah. Yep, that is the danger of hyperinflation. And this is why people... This is why we look to history for some of this. This is also, as far as I'm aware, why the gold standard in part was a thing. That way, USD could be pegged to a USD to gold ratio, which that was a controversial decision in its own right. But whether we should or should not have left the gold standard, if we're still technically on the gold standard, that gets into deep finance. I don't want to bore you with that today. However, it is fascinating to even look back just to post World War II Germany. And see hyperinflation at work. And there is other many other actual examples to draw from as well. Hyperinflation is a very real concern.
The already struggling German economy completely collapses and a black market sets in, and the new currency for Germany is essentially cigarettes and food. And this goes on for like 2 years, with the West trying to negotiate with the USSR on how to proceed. And during that time, the people of Berlin are quite literally starving and freezing to death, with the average Berliner eating less than 1,000 calories a day.
That's
Eventually,
awful.
The West steps in and they're like, fuck it, we're just going to do it without the communists because we have to help these people. So they...
I mean, at that point, that's where in modern day, right, the UN would hypothetically step in. Because at that point, like, the quality of life isn't there. At least as I understand how the UN works. I know it's a council, and then you get into the deep UN, not necessarily lore, but the deep dive of the UN where, well, how many people are owned by which world powers, and that gets into politics, which is boring. History, that's exciting. Politics is boring.
Create a new type of currency for Germany known as the Deutschmark, and it's going to be seen as a real store of value and help rebuild the German economy. The Soviets find out about this and they freak out, basically break all diplomatic communication with the Western powers, and they officially want to break up and just have East versus West, capitalism versus communism, Hungary versus Fed. This is where the Cold War really starts kicking off. And the first ideological battleground of the Cold War is going to be Berlin, because remember, it's 100 miles into Soviet territory and a big chunk of it is still controlled by the Western powers. So the Soviets decide they need to take over that part of Berlin too. They can't have a little speck of capitalism in their communist utopia. Now, luckily for the communists, it's an easy fix. They really don't have to do anything, because the minute the West Berliners see what a communist utopia really looks like, they're going to willfully and freely denounce capitalism and run over and become communists too, right? Wrong. That's never going to happen, because communism sucks. It's always sucked and it's always going to suck.
So I think at that point, like this, the discussion becomes like Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. As somebody, I myself think I need to read it at some point, not to take it as proverbial gospel, so to speak, right? But to understand, okay, where did Karl Marx come from? How did we get from point A to point B? And then you also have to take it with the context that Karl Marx was living with his buddy on his buddy's dad's dime, right? I mean, in an area where the Industrial Revolution was pretty much in full swing at that point in time, right? But Karl Marx and his buddy are effectively living it up, like frat boys on a flat, right? So that has to be taken into consideration as well, where you are writing the Communist Manifesto, a contrary method to capitalism, I would argue, right? But you're also benefiting off of a capitalist system, thus leading into modern communism as we know it from the Communist Manifesto. How much does modern communism actually take from the Communist Manifesto? If Karl Marx were here today and he saw our modern definition of communism, would that actually make him turn in his grave, or would he actually say, no, this is similar to my vision? These are the things that after SCA practice, I go to Applebee's, have a drink, and I talk to buddies about. It's really weird that I never actually have normal conversations. Hey, Kip, how's that sports ball game? Hey, Kip, did you find anyone new lately that you want to date? Hey, Kip, what are your thoughts on this new anime? No, we talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh and its impact on modern entertainment. We talk about how kabuki theater was a precursor to modern anime, and we talk about the lasting impact of of Karl Marx on modern society. God. I really, really don't get to have really brainless conversations. I really don't. Which is why sometimes you come on to stream like, Kip, you're usually so thoughtful, you're usually so insightful, and I'm like, man. Yeah, I kind of just want to relax.
So the communists are going to do what they always do. They are going to basically present West Berlin the option, join or we will attempt to kill you. Because if you don't know, that's the dirty little secret to communism.
We seize the means of production. We abolish private property. The economy collapses. The economy collapses.
They always talk about seizing the means of production. What they never bother to tell you is that people are also part of that means of production, and they will seize you too. So that's exactly.
So as far as I'm aware, this actually extends from the Industrial Revolution, where part of it was the means of production was in the hand of the wealthy few that could then divvy out the means of production underneath their rule, for lack of a better word at the moment, and thus you got factories, right? A entrepreneur, someone with money, someone with assets, someone with capital, right, was able to buy all of the equipment, buy all of the real estate, buy all of the infrastructure, right, and be able to employ people to create these goods and necessities while holding the means of production and divvying it out to employees, right? As far as I'm aware, this is a base concept. That being said, any history buffs in the comments section, please feel free to correct me if this at whole is wrong. That being said, obviously there's issues with fair compensation. Triangle Shirtwaist Factory is a prime example of really bad working conditions in regards to certain aspects of working in an environment like that. And that's why you have rules, regulations, even OSHA to a degree, and that's why you have unions for fair compensation. That being said, this is a really condensed commentary on the history of capitalism versus communism. There are many, many other channels out there that can dive into this way further than I can in such a short video.
Exactly what they do. They attempt to seize West Berlin. They blockade it off from the Western powers. They cut off.
To clarify, yes, I am not going to untangle that any further, and I'm speaking on this strictly from a historical standpoint.
Every road, every railway, and every waterway so that the Western powers cannot get West Berlin food or any other supplies. And then they cut off the power to that section of the city, quite literally freezing and starving them to death until they comply. So obviously this is a diplomatic and humanitarian disaster. All the military leadership runs over to President Truman and they're like, hey, what do you want us to do? Basically, we got three options. Option A, we can start rolling tanks in and kick off World War III right now. Option B, we can just leave the Berlin people there to die. And option C, we can try to fly in as much food and supplies as possible, but getting enough to feed an entire city is basically going to be impossible. What do you want to do? Now, obviously, I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Truman basically said, we're America. We don't start world wars. We just finish them. Also, and I quote, we stay in Berlin. period, which narrows it down to one single option. They are going to fly in enough food and enough supplies to try to feed all of West Berlin. Here's the catch with that. The American leadership has absolutely no idea what that's going to take or how to even proceed. So they go to the British government, who has just spent the last decade rationing their own people, and they have a great understanding of what it takes to keep a large population of people fed and warm. So Great Britain crunches the numbers, and they figure to get every single person in West Berlin 1,700 calories a day, it's going to be 1,500 tons of food every single day. In addition to that, since the power got cut off, they're going to need 2,500 tons of coal and fuel every single day. Okay, 4,000 tons, just so we're all on the same page, that is 8 million pounds of supplies every single day.
Uncle Sam is about to flex with that blank check.
Just to keep everyone alive. And the best cargo plane they have to work with at this point in time is the C-47 Skytrain, which has a maximum capacity of 3 tons, meaning that they are going to have to land 1,333 cargo planes into Berlin every single day. To put that into perspective, there's only 1,440 minutes in a day, meaning that one plane has to land every minute and 8 seconds. This is impossible. Despite that, the newly formed United States Air Force says, hold my nuclear bombs and watch this shit, because on June 26, 1948, 2 days after the Soviet blockade, they launch Operation Vittles, where they are going to try to feed an entire city via cargo plane. 2 days after that, June 28th, the UK says, hey, we're going to help too, and the RAF launches Operation Planefair, and together this becomes known as the Berlin Airlift, and right out of the gate, it is a complete and utter shit show. They're trying to fly in planes from absolutely everywhere. It is disorganized chaos. There's planes crashing. There's mid-air collisions. It's a complete disaster. And on their best day, they're maybe able to get 1,000 tons of supplies, less than a fifth of what they need. Now, at this point, the conditions in Berlin are getting worse and worse by the day. The communists are essentially laughing at the stupid capitalist pigs, at which point America calls up one of its main characters.
I'm surprised he didn't input the Ren and Stimpy capitalist pig meme. I'm actually a little surprised. But to be fair, it's a pretty niche meme. Ren and Stimpy was not a kid show.
A man by the name of General William Tunner. All right, this is a guy that coordinated all the logistics of getting supplies into China during World War II when they had to fly over the Himalayas. If anybody can unfuck this situation, it's gonna be him. And that's exactly what he does. So General Tunner comes in and he's like, here's the deal. We're gonna fly these planes like we're conducting an orchestra. There's 3 air channels to Berlin. The 2 on the outside are gonna be planes going to Berlin, and the one in the middle is gonna be planes.
Yeah, so you have 2 inlets, and then you have a single outlet, which allows you to exfil from that location. That makes a lot of sense, actually. No, that... Interesting.
Leaving Berlin. For the 2 air channels going into Berlin, we're going to launch 1 plane every 3 minutes all day, every single day. And those planes are going to fly at 5 separate altitudes, staggering every single time to give them just enough time to land. The Germans on the receiving end of this are like, we're literally starving to death. We got to help out the Americans and the British with this. So they show up and they start unloading the cargo planes for them. And they get so good at unloading these planes that they can unload all 3 tons of cargo in under 7 minutes and help get the planes turned around and sent back out. And this turns out
it's 3 tons of cargo in 7 minutes. This is why I consistently in videos will say, look, I'm not a political channel. I'm here to look from a historical standpoint. I'm here to onboard people onto the same page, hence the conversation earlier about capitalism and Marxism. Cool, we're onboarded on the same page. Make your own opinions from there. Make your own educated opinions from there. This is why I do what I do. This is why I still retain some semblance of hope in humanity, because when we come together, when we have our minds on something, when we actually work together, we can do some really cool shit. 3 tons on a plane in under 7 minutes. That is insane. That is amazing. That's what I want to see more of. I want to see people working together more. I want to see people coming together more, being able to help each other with our strengths and our weaknesses, to be able to create a better future. That's realistically why I do what I do. It's an ambitious goal, don't get me wrong, impossible, some might say, but at the very least, if I have people message me constantly, and they're just like, hey, thank you for, not being a not shit person. And you know what? Sometimes that's all that it really is. Sometimes it is just, hey, I've done what I can in the world. And that is right there the peak of what I want to see from people.
Into one of the most beautiful humanitarian team effort moments in human history. There's American and British pilots, aircrew members, mechanics, all just showing up in West Germany without even being called to help with this effort and to fly and repair these planes to keep them going around the clock. And then over in Berlin, the same thing is happening. There's Luftwaffe airplane mechanics showing up to help repair the American and British cargo planes to keep everything running. The two sides that were fighting against each other just a few years ago are now working together to save people. Everybody involved in this operation gets so good at what they're doing that the choke point that's holding up even more progress is that they don't have enough airfields to land the planes on. So the Germans straight up build another one. The only problem with that was there was this big ass apartment building in the way, and when the pilots lowered their landing gear would only clear that apartment roof by like 20 feet, which seems like it would be kind of terrifying. So the Germans are like, hey, do you want us to rip that apartment building down? What do you guys want us to do? And the American and RAF pilots are like, bro, we just got done flying in World War II with you guys and the Japanese shooting at us. The apartment's gonna be fine, trust me. And sure enough, they start not only hitting, but exceeding the quota of 4,500 tons a day. And this infuriates the Soviets. This is the biggest economic and logistical flex of all time. It shouldn't even be possible.
No.
And yet America, the UK, and the people of West Berlin are somehow pulling it off. At this point, the Soviets decide they have to try to do something to stop this. So they start sending up all their fighter planes to try to mess with all the American and British cargo pilots by flying too close. They're basically trying to mess up air traffic, cause accidents, do anything they can to slow down this logistical miracle.
I ain't saying shit. All I'm gonna say, USSR doesn't really change, does it? I ain't saying shit, though.
However, it doesn't really work. Why? Because the American and British pilots know that it's basically a bluff, because it's essentially a giant game of fuck around and find out, because if the Soviets actually do anything, it's going to kick off World War III, and at this point in time, America is the only country on the planet that has nuclear bombs and a president that's not afraid to use them.
Right.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that the American and RAF pilots are flying with the confidence of knowing that if one of these Soviets shoots them down, President Truman is going to bitch slap their entire country with the sun. Needless to say, they were unfazed by the Soviet harassment. How unfazed were they? Thank you so much for asking. Cue our next main character, Gail Halvorson, aka the Candy Bomber. He was one of the many pilots that was flying supplies into Berlin, and somewhere along the way he decided that he was going to start dropping candy bars with little handkerchief parachutes out of the window of his plane over West Berlin so that the kids could get some candy. And eventually this caught on, and all the kids were waiting where the planes would fly over, hoping that they would get a candy bar. Then the American government caught on, and they're like, oh shit, this is a great propaganda opportunity. Imagine what it would be like if every single plane was dropping candy out of it. So that's exactly what—
Didn't some of these actually have like messages on them? I'm trying to remember how. I feel like I vaguely remember this.
They do. They start dropping a bunch of candy out of every plane, and then they make propaganda out of it. But then it gets bigger because all the American candy companies start sponsoring it and donating even more candy to drop. And then it gets bigger because all the kids in America
it's a good marketing opportunity.
and the UK start raising money at school to buy candy to give to the kids of Germany. And they're giving out even more candy. And the Soviets have to stand there and watch as the Americans and the British are not only flying in a literal Costco worth of shit into West Berlin every single day, but they're dropping candy out of their planes like it's a fucking parade the entire time. And this is all going on while East Germany and East Berlin is eating potatoes and standing in bread lines, and it makes the Soviets look like the biggest assholes on the planet. Because not
Yeah, that's the one.
Not only are the people of East Germany watching the Western world essentially move heaven and earth to help out West Berlin, they're also watching the Soviets be more interested in disrupting America and the UK from helping people than they are in helping the people of East Germany. In short, America and the UK are playing to win, and the Soviets are playing to not lose, and it is leading to a lower quality of life for all of East Germany. As it turns out, Sun Tzu was yet again correct when he said, the sun may rise in the east, but it sets in the west, and that's because West Side is the best side.
Oh my god, the Sun Tzu memes are unreal.
Not what it means.
Really?
Not even close.
That might have been Ice Cube, actually.
I've been asking.
Anyways, so now in
Ah, yes, another great philosopher of our time. The one you call Ice Cube.
retaliation for all of this, America and the UK and pretty much the entire Western world are going to put a bunch of embargoes on the Soviet Union and punish them financially and economically. Now, the Soviets absolutely cannot afford this, but they keep telling themselves it's okay, winter is coming, and as soon as winter gets here, they're not going to be able to land all these planes, and this whole thing's going to fall apart. We just have to wait out long enough for winter to slow down America and the UK. So that's what they do. They just try to shoulder the financial burden and wait for winter to come and put a stop to this entire thing. Winter comes, and winter, it does slow down some of the flights, but here's the catch. America was also developing bigger, better cargo planes, and now America isn't just flying the C-47, America's flying their new cargo plane, the C-74 Globemaster, and as opposed to the previous C-47 carrying only 3 tons, the Globemaster can carry 25.
Jesus
so despite
Christ.
the fact that weather can sometimes delay flights, America and the UK continue to improve and increase the amount of supplies that they are delivering daily. And by
I would argue that, I mean, sure, we have war as the mother of all innovation. I'd argue conflict is the mother of all innovation, because this isn't I mean, you could argue this might be a silent war. I mean, as the Cold War was, it was a silent war. Like, wow, 3 tons to 25 tons.
Easter Sunday, 1949, they would break their own record, landing 1,383 planes in a single day, delivering 13,000 tons of supplies, which is 26 million pounds, which obviously is like 11.8 million kilograms or roughly 87 blue whales. Yeah, the United States Air Force and the RAF shipped 87 blue whales worth of crap into West Berlin in a single day. And because of this, it becomes very apparent to the Soviet Union that America can and will keep this shit up forever if they have to, and they are finally forced to give up the blockade because they cannot shoulder the financial burden anymore, and that would come down on May 12th, 1949. And with the roads and railways to West Berlin finally open once again, the Berlin Airlift would come to an end after 15 months, 277,000 flights spanning 92,000 miles and delivering 2.3 million tons of aid, which is roughly 4.6 billion pounds or 15,333.33333333 blue whales. This is the greatest logistical and humanitarian feat ever accomplished, and the Western world did it with communism doing everything it could to slow it down. So in conclusion, fuck communism. The best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
Wow. Current Globemaster carry 100 tons. Jesus. So they carried on with this line.
And then the Soviet Union got all pissy and built a wall through the middle of Germany, and that's what we're going to talk about next week.
Oh, that's why. Okay, I was wondering where the Berlin Wall came in play. I thought the Berlin Wall would have been torn down prior to this, but this was after. Interesting. Wow. No, it doesn't have to be wartime. The pettiness of human individuals, like, unfortunately, I mean, it happens. It comes about. Like, it can be a coworker receiving unjust treatment. It can be a family member receiving more on a holiday. It can be a number of things. And it really is just awful versus the stories we can see about people working together to overcome adversity and literally how effective a lot of that can be. And once again, like I'm not a political channel. There are many other channels that you can, go to about the rise of capitalism, the rise of communism, Karl Marx. There are many, many channels you could go to. I can only onboard people. I can say, look, this is how these means of production differ. These are where the means of production are, and in relation to each other. This is how we get the current conflict before us in a historical setting. I can onboard people, and I absolutely recommend that you do your own research and come to your own educated conclusions to what opinion is best for you. I think that a issue with YouTube, as we can see with the unsubscribed podcast up here, and other individuals as well, is that just misinformation and factually incorrect information is I would argue, a rampant disease. And how do you inoculate this? How do you fix this? You do your research. you become educated, you know better, and you're not expected to know everything, but at the very least, be able to talk about a subject and know that you do literally have a phone in your pocket, much that, contrary to what teachers back 10 plus years ago would tell you, you have a phone in your pocket. Hey, something's not quite making sense about this. Maybe I should go check Google on that. Oh, what is this? For example, right? As of the start of 2024, Mickey Mouse came into, public domain. However, that is only Mickey Mouse 1.0. So that means if you say try to use the 2013 design, 2023 design, technically that's not fair use. And how do I know this? Oh, I did some research and I looked through and I found an legalarticle.edu and I'm like, hey, cool. Here, this is what you need to know. And that's how you fix that. That took me literally 5 minutes to figure out, and it also disproves a lot of claims that Mickey Mouse in general is under public domain. No, that is Mickey Mouse 1.0. There's a difference, But alas, that is do what you can. Your time is precious. I do appreciate everybody for coming on out and watching my stuff, and entertaining my musings, if you will. That being said, if you haven't checked out the Fat Electrician, and you want more of this content, go check out the Fat Electrician. Even if you don't want more of this content, go check out the Fat Electrician. Dude's super legit. Dude shows up on the Unsubscribed podcast. Dude is doing wonders. I can't wait for him to hit 2-3 million plus subscribers. So do what you can. Definitely go check out the Fat Electrician. And we're going to be checking out some new videos next time. So thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.